got High Five Kids Ministries, and in case you didn't know, I'm Pastor Chris, and I'm so glad you guys are here today. We're going to have a great time. We are continuing talking about the virtue of
courage.
Courage. And can you say, what is courage? Say it with me. Courage is being brave enough to do what you should do, even when you're afraid. Say, courage is being brave enough to do what you should do.
Do what you should do.
Even when you're afraid. Courage is being brave enough to do what you should do. Even when you're afraid. Alright, I need a young man to be a volunteer to show us how to do the virtue, our emotions and everything. You can do it really good. Alright, come on up, Jameson. I think you'll be awesome. Come on up here, Jameson. This is Jameson Christ. Everyone, welcome him to the High Five stage. Jameson Christ, now tell everybody, what is courage? Lead them in the virtue of courage. Go ahead.
Being brave enough to do what you should do, even when you're afraid.
Alright, put some emotions to it. Put some passion into it.
Being brave enough to do what you should do, even when you're afraid.
Alright, great job. Great job, Jameson. What a great job on High Five stage. I need a young lady who thinks that they can just bring the virtue to life with passion and creativity. Let's see here. Come on up. Yeah, come on up. Tell everybody what courage is. Ready? Let's give her a hand. Give her a hand. Welcome to High Five stage. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. All right, go ahead. What's courage? All right, great job. Great job. Have a seat. Yeah, courage is being brave enough to do what you should do, even when you're afraid. All right, so I love courage. Because you know what? You know what this virtue says? It says that sometimes in life, we will be afraid. But even when we're afraid, courage is being brave enough to do what we know we should do. And we've been learning about that all month long, the month of September. And we're going to continue learning about that for a few more weeks, learning about the virtue of courage. We've been talking about some pretty awesome Bible stories. The story of Joseph and how he lived a rough life. Man, bad stuff just happened to Joseph. His brothers were jealous of him. They beat him up. They sell him into slavery. And then he finally gets some favor at Potiphar's house, but then Potiphar's wife lies about him. He gets thrown in prison. Man, life is messed up sometimes for Joseph, but you know what? He was brave every step of the way because he trusted God, and he did what he knew he should do, even when he was afraid. And then we've been talking about the story of Moses. Everybody say Moses. Moses, and how God called Moses. He talked to him. Remember that burning, what? Was it a burning what? A burning bush. Yeah, there was a bush that was burning up into flames, but it wasn't being consumed. And then God spoke to Moses through the burning bush and called him to lead his people out of slavery and Egyptian bondage. They were in bondage for how many years?
21 million.
Yeah, over 400 years. Some say around 430 years. That's a long time to be in bondage. But God called Moses, and he went and he told Pharaoh to let his people go, and God sent a whole bunch of what? Plagues. God sent a whole bunch of plagues and totally messed up Pharaoh and his people, and he finally let his people go. And so we're going to continue picking up with that story, the amazing story of Moses and the Israelite people being let go, set free after all the plagues, and we're going to see what happens after that, because you know what? They still have to display courage in their lives. They have to have courage in the rest of the story. It's going to be pretty awesome. And I'm going to need a lot of help in the story later on. So. Hey, Will. Will. Where are you, Will? Oh. What are you doing up there in that tree?
Hercules.
Huh?
Hercules.
Hercules, the dog.
The dog? What? I don't see no dog.
I know, that's the point. He got out. He got out of the cage and came at me. I didn't know what to do. I'm so scared. And the worst part is, he's not mine.
He's not yours. I gathered that.
I was watching him for a friend, and I thought it was impossible. Clearly, I'm afraid of dogs. I just don't know what to do. I'm so scared. We need to find him.
Yeah, it's not a very huge stage. He couldn't have gone too far.
You got a point.
Yeah, but why don't you come down from the tree and I'll help you find him?
You'll help me?
Yeah, of course I'll help you. Just come on down from there. All right. Let's see. Hercules. If I was a puppy, where? Oh, Hercules! There you are! Come on, boy! Here, boy! Hey, Will, I found him! Hercules! Will? Oh, man. Well, apparently Will still has some things to learn about courage, so I'll try to find... I think I lost Hercules. Oh, well. Hey, it's time for worship. Why don't you guys stand up and we'll worship God? I'll try to find Will and Hercules. All right, guys, we're going to go over a memory verse again. All right, so stand up with me. Stand up with me. All right, stand up with me. Stretch real good. All right. Kind of loosen up a little bit. All right. Here we go. Our memory verse is, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. Psalm 56:3. Say it. All right, say, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. Psalm 56:3. No, say, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. Psalm 56:3. No. All right, boys, sit down. Stand up, ladies. I want the ladies to say the verse all by yourself. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. All right, sit down. Come on, boys, stand up. I want to hear the boys say the verse real loud and strong and together, unified. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. All right, sit down. Great job. Listen. When I am afraid, I will trust in you. Psalms 56:3. Now, I told you guys last week that the Psalms, the book of Psalms, is a book of poetry. Ever say poetry? And it's poetry, but it's also, it was some of their worship songs way back in the day. Say worship songs. All right, you know what else the Psalms were? The Psalms were prayers. Say prayers. Now, this was written by someone who was experiencing a time of fear, all right? A time of real fear. And they wrote this prayer. It says, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. And they're talking about trusting in God, having faith and trust in God. And they're able to have courage because they prayed prayers like this. That even though bad times were going to come, even though times would come in their lives where they would experience a fear and be afraid, they knew and they trusted God, that God would be with them, and they could stand and say a prayer and say, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. And that's what we need to be able to do in our lives. That's what you kids need to be able to do in your lives. Whenever you experience a fear in any situation, whether you're at home, whether you're at school, whether you're at the park, you experience fear for whatever reason. You know what? You can say, you know what? When I am afraid, I will trust in you, and put our faith and trust in God, because we serve a God that loves us very, very much, an awesome and powerful God. Psalm 56:3. When I am afraid, I will trust in you. I want to ask you guys to stand up, and we're going to go to the Lord and worship this morning. And I want you guys to worship God with all of your hearts this morning, because we serve an awesome and powerful God, a God that loves us so much, a God that wants us to trust in Him and we experience times of fear. So let's stand up and worship God with all of our hearts this morning. All right. So we started talking about a pretty amazing story last week and how Moses had courage. He had courage and bravery, and he obeyed God, and God told him to go to Egypt and command Pharaoh to let his people go. All right, so we saw all the 10 plagues. Or we heard all the sound effects of the plagues anyway last week. And so we got Moses and the Israelite people. They've been in bondage for over 400 years. And finally they're set free. And they're wandering around the desert, making their way to escape out of the land of Egypt. All right, so it's a pretty amazing spot in the story. And it comes to this place in the story where God is leading and guiding them, and He's doing some amazing, awesome things. But you know, I need somebody to play the part of Moses and of the Israelites. Let's see here. Chase, come on up, Chase. All right. Let's see what I got back here. Let's see here. There's a staff somewhere. All right, and here we go. Here it is. All right, here we got a staff for you. It's a shepherd's staff because Moses was a shepherd out in the desert. And Moses, by this time, Moses is kind of pretty old. So here, let me go ahead and fasten this to you here. Tie this up here so it'll stay on there. And does this look good?
I think it's fine.
No. There we go. Let's see here. There we go. All right, Moses. Here, let's put this over his ear. There we go. All right. So we got Moses, and just in case you forget, there he is right there, Moses. And he's got this wonderful robe. Say, Moses got to wear a robe. All right, so let's stick this on him here. And then you stick your arms through there. All right, great. And his beard's tucked up under his robe. Let's fix that here. And then his name is gone, but it's there under there, Moses. All right, so we don't forget. All right, so we got Moses, and we got some Israelites. I need some Israelites. Let's see. Yeah, come on up. Come on up, Mason. And who else should play the part of an Israelite? Jameson, come on up. All right. Okay, now, see, they're traveling. They left everything, the land of Egypt. So, you know, they had a backpack. So they had valuables. And, you know, they also had, you know, animals with them, like sheep and stuff. All right, so there we go. We got Moses and his staff, and he's leading the Israelites out of the land of Egypt. And they're heading towards the promised land. So you guys kind of walk around the front of the stage here, and you guys are well on your way to freedom. All right. And, okay, now God, even though Moses was leading the people, really God was the one that was in charge. God was the one still in charge. And so you know what God did to lead his people? All right, during the daytime, God led them by a cloud. You know, a cloud. And then by the nighttime, he led them by a pillar of fire. Wouldn't that be amazing? At nighttime, you see a big pillar of fire, and you follow it, and it leads you. And the daytime, you see a cloud. So I need a volunteer to actually help me with the fire and the cloud. Let's see here. See, we need some. Let's get a lady on the stage to help us with the cloud and the fire. All right. Come on up. Yeah, come on up. And let's see here. All right, there's our fire and our cloud that's made out of just normal household items. All right, okay, now go ahead and stand out here and kind of lead them, and they'll follow you around. All right, lead them around the stage. All right, they're being, hold it up real high. There you go. All right, by the cloud during the day and the pillar during the nighttime. All right, great job, sheep riding piggyback. All right, great stuff. Okay, so they're so excited and they're smiling because they're free from the rule of the Egyptians, all right? And so they're just being wandering around and being led throughout the desert, led by a cloud during the daytime and led by a pillar of fire during the nighttime. And so, just when they thought everything was going good, guess what happened? Old Pharaoh, the one whose heart was hardened, he began thinking, you know what? Who is going to do all of our slave work? I let all of the Israelite people go, and I have no one to build our kingdom and to build our stuff, our houses and our pyramids. So Pharaoh, he got on his chariot, and he got his army, and he came out to go attack the Israelites, to bring them back, and to make them slaves again. So Pharaoh came out in his chariot. We have an Ace Hardware wheelbarrow playing the part of the chariot this morning. We have Pharaoh, and he comes out and he begins pursuing the Israelite people. All right, so he's coming after them. He wants to destroy them, some of them, and make some of them slaves again over there and take them back to the land of Egyptian bondage. All right, so here we go. They come up to this point in the story where on the backside they're being pursued by Pharaoh and his army, their chariots. And guess what happens? In front of them, there's a sea called the Red Sea. All right, I need my helpers to get our Red Sea. Just pass out the sea. All right, let's pass out the sea this morning.
Lead me.
All right, quickly pass out the sea as quickly as you can. And once you get your piece of sea, wave it around in the air. Wave it around in the sky. Wave it around above your head. Because you are ocean waves. You are the Red Sea. All right. All right, we got a crazy, roaring Red Sea. All right, everybody stay seated and quietly wave your streamers. All right, it's a quiet Red Sea. All right, quietly wave your streamers. That way I can continue telling the rest of the story because it's about to get really, really exciting and dangerous. All right, okay. So we got Pharaoh right here. He's pursuing the Israelites, being led by Moses and God with a pillar of fire and a cloud by the daytime. And they're wandering about, and finally they get to a place. All right, Pharaoh, we'll have you stop right here. They get to a place where they're stuck between the Red Sea and Pharaoh, his chariots, and his armies. So they see the sea in front of them, and there's no way you can pass. It's not passable, all right? And you guys in the middle, go ahead and wave your sea right here. Cover up this middle area. Wave your sea there. All right, they see a sea that they cannot pass through on one side. And on the other side, they see a frightening Egyptian army led by Pharaoh coming after them, closing in on them. And listen to what God's people say. God's people said to Moses, "Was it because there are no graves in Egypt that you brought us out in the desert to die? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die out here in the desert." All right, the people, the Israelites, the Hebrew people, they start complaining and grumbling because they're afraid. They're full of fear. They complain and grumble to Moses because on one side, there's a raging Red Sea, and on the other side, there's Pharaoh and his chariot and the Egyptian army closing in on them to capture them. All right, so guess what? Something amazing was about to happen. Moses answered the people. He said, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." All right? So, the Israelites, they were still a little terrified. Look terrified. All right? They're still a little terrified. They got the Pharaoh and his army on one side. They got a raging sea on the other side. But here's something that God did. All right, step down here, guys. You guys are getting closer to the sea. All right, Moses is brave. The Israelites are still a little scared. The Israelites are really scared. Moses looks a little brave. The Israelites look a little scared. All right, we got Pharaoh. And here's what God did. God took the pillar of fire and the cloud, and it came between them. All right, stand right here and hold up the fire on this side and the cloud on this side. All right, and so darkness was surrounding Pharaoh and his armies, and they couldn't see. The Bible says they were confused because God stood between them. And God let the Israelites have light, and they could see what to do, and there was darkness over here with the Egyptians, and they were confused, and they didn't know where they were going, all right? And so God right now, He's protecting them by creating this barrier between them. But you know what? They still have this problem of a raging sea. Let me hear you rage. All right. Okay, here's what happened. Here's what happened. God told Moses to hold up his staff over the sea. So he holds it up, and guess what? The waters parted. Part waters, hold up your streamers. Hold up your streamers and part down the middle. All right, and Moses and the Israelites, they walked across safely on dry ground, because through the night God sent a great wind, and a great wind dried up a path for them to walk through the sea, all right? Okay, and then at that time, the pillar of fire and the cloud, it went out of the way, and then Pharaoh and the Egyptians, they saw that they passed safely over the sea, and so they went to pass over the sea, and just as if they were going through the sea, guess what happened? God told Moses to put his hands down, and the waters of the sea came crashing down and wiped out Pharaoh and the Egyptian army in the middle of the sea. Great job, Lucy. Great job. All right. Great job. You can have a seat. All right, all of our actors can have a seat. Hey, put your blue streamers down. Put the blue streamers down. Let me wrap this up. What an amazing story. Can you imagine? Could you imagine what would have been like to have been there? Hey, go and put your streamers under your seat. I'll let you take them home, but you got to put them under your seat now. If we see you hold them now, we'll take them from you, all right? Put them under your seat. Now listen. Look at me. Let me see your beautiful eyes. What an amazing story. Could you imagine being there? Can you imagine the real fear that they would have felt with the Egyptian army closing in on them and then a raging sea in front of them? It seemed like something impossible to escape, didn't it? It seemed like there was no way out. It seemed like there was nothing they could do. But God spoke and He said, you know what, just trust me. The Egyptians that you see here today, this is going to be the last time you're going to see them. Because God was about to do something amazing to deliver them. And finally, God, He confused the Egyptian army. And they couldn't see. And He sent a great wind. And it dried up a path in the middle of the sea. Isn't that amazing? What an awesome, powerful God that we serve. Even though we're in the midst of an impossible situation, He sent a wind and dried up a path. And He confused and put the Egyptian army in darkness. And so they crossed over safely, hundreds and thousands of them. A whole small nation of people with all their belongings, all of their animals, their women, their children. They all passed safely over the sea on dry land. And they got to the other side. And then when Moses was obedient to God, he was courageous and brave. And he put his arms down as Pharaoh and the Egyptian army went into the sea to pursue them. The walls of the sea came crashing down and wiped them out. What an amazing, powerful God. See, even when seems like life has an impossible situation, God in His great power and love is able to do the impossible. So let me think about your lives. Maybe in your life, you're facing a situation that seems impossible. Maybe there's a bully at school, and you don't know how you're going to face them on Monday. Or maybe mom and dad said, you know what? We're going to have to move to another state. Or maybe you have a friend who's moving away, and it just seems like an impossible situation. You know what? Maybe your friend might move away. Maybe you might have to move. But you know what? God will be there with you in the midst of an impossible situation. And when it seems like you don't know how you're going to make it, when it seems like you don't know how you're going to survive, God is able to step right in and perform and make the impossible possible in your life. Let's look at our bottom line today. Our bottom line today says, I can be brave even when I... Actually, that's the wrong bottom line. The bottom line says, I can be brave when things seem impossible. Say, I can be brave.
I can be brave.
When things seem impossible. Say, I can be brave.
I can be brave.
When things seem impossible.
When things seem impossible.
Because sure enough, in that situation that the Hebrew people were in, it seemed impossible. They would never thought or imagined that a whole entire sea can part and let them walk across it on dry ground. Who could think up something like that? God can. God can take an impossible situation, just like He did for them. He can take an impossible situation in your life and help you find a way through it. When life seems impossible, I can be brave even when things seem impossible. And you can be brave and take those steps of faith, just like Moses and just like the Israelites. Can you imagine how scared they were walking through the middle of the sea? Can you imagine walking through and you see the walls of a sea that are lifted up? Maybe you could see the fish swimming in there. And you're walking through the middle of it. Can you imagine how scary that would have felt? Kind of looking up and you see the sea, the walls, and fish swimming in there. And you're touching the ground and it feels like dry ground. And you see the smooth stones that are smooth along the bottom of the sea because of the water that's eroded there. That would have been kind of scary, right? You would have had to really have faith and trust in God to take those steps across the sea. But God provided a way of escape for them. And after they made it through, imagine how scary it would have been to see the Egyptian army coming in after you. Pretty scary, right? But right when they're coming after you, right when it seems like they're going to get you and overtake you and either kill you or make you a slave again, God in His awesome power closed the sea on the enemy. See, God's able to do awesome, powerful things in your life today if you simply have faith and trust in Him. And you may have to take some steps of courage and bravery. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Lord Jesus, we thank You for this amazing story. Lord, it was really fun to bring our actors and act it out. It was fun to pass out the streamers, Lord God. Lord, even though we act it out, it kind of helps us visualize it. It helps us kind of see it, whereas we act it out. But you know what? Our little acting out can no way compare to the reality of what they were experiencing. What a scary situation. But Lord, during the midst of that situation, You were there. You kept them safe from their enemies, and You provided a clear, dry path for them through the sea. You made the impossible possible. And You're able to do that in our lives today. Lord, I pray for these kids, whatever they're going through, whatever they're experiencing, Lord, I pray, Lord God, that You make the impossible possible in their life today. Lord, I pray that they can take steps, Lord, knowing that You're there with them, knowing that You're providing a way for them. I pray that they can have courage in their life, just like Moses and the Israelites. We thank You, Jesus, for being a God who makes the impossible possible. Lord, we commit to having courage and following You. We love You, Jesus. And all God's kids said? Amen. Amen.
Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know Hercules is backstage eating some dog food while the Bible verse was going, and Pastor Chris is going to bring him out in just a minute. But having a fear of dogs makes me a little bit prone towards admiration. So me, my feels good. Anyway, so.
Oh, all right. Hercules, I found Hercules. Here he is. There's Hercules.
That's a real dog.
All right, Hercules. There, we found him. That way you can take him back to the friend there. All right. Hi, sweet little dog.
Yeah. So, don't laugh. It's not funny. To me, this dog is terrifying. This dog is absolutely terrifying. To me, this dog is like the Red Sea. This dog makes me feel like it's impossible for me to get over my fear of dogs. But today I learned God doesn't know the word impossible. So whenever you feel like things are impossible, you just put all your faith in God, and He will make it all right. So whenever you're going through hard things in your life and you think it's impossible, just put your faith in Him, and it'll be all right. And so whenever you're afraid, still have courage. So the thing to know is I can be afraid even when things seem impossible. That's pretty much the thing you need to know. And it's like so good and good. So you guys want to say it with me? Alright, so I have to now put the dog up and have to return it to my friend now. So I'm gonna go do that. And it wasn't that bad. So Hercules isn't like the Red Sea. He's more like the Pharaoh and his army.
All right. Aren't you glad that Will was brave and he was able to have little Hercules on the stage with him? That could be scary. Anybody else afraid of ferocious dogs like Hercules? Anybody else? Yeah. I mean, those little, ankle biters named Hercules, they can be pretty scary sometimes, But, I'm glad that we found Hercules and got him back to Will, and so Will can take it safely to the owner. I'm so glad that happened. Hey, I want you guys to look with me. We're going to look at the memory verse, and we're going to look at our bottom line and stuff, and I want us to review this. Say, I can be brave.
I can be brave.
Even when things seem impossible. Say, I. Me. Moi. Talking about myself here. Are you looking at me? I'm talking about me right now. I can be brave. Even when things seem impossible. You guys ever have those times in your life when it seems like an impossible mission? Kind of like waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth. Doesn't that seem impossible sometimes? Like, look, let me act this out for you. Here's your bed. You're laying down sleeping. And you get out of your bed, and Mom says, you gotta brush your teeth. And it seems like an impossible thing to do, an impossible mission. You're rubbing your eyes, and you're looking for your toothbrush, and you're looking for your toothpaste, and you're putting it all on there, and you turn on the water, it's either too hot or it's too cold, it seems impossible. And you're like, you know what? I can be brave, even when things seem impossible. And you just muster up as much courage as you can. You open up your mouth and you stick the toothpaste and you start brushing. Does that take bravery to brush your teeth? No! Well, what takes bravery? Can someone give me a mic? What takes bravery? What? jumping off a cliff. Right here. Come here, Chase. Now, have you ever jumped off a cliff before, Chase? No? That would take bravery, wouldn't it? That would take bravery. All right. To set off your parachute while you're falling.
What if you didn't have one?
If you didn't have a parachute.
You probably died.
That would take bravery.
Having courage.
All right. I got a brand new mic. Turn it on. All right. Check. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. All right. Brand new mic. All right. Here we go. All right. All right. What is something else that takes bravery? Jumping off a cliff does take bravery. I've gone to the river and did cliff diving before when I was in college, and it does take bravery. Here, let me show you what I looked like when I was cliff diving. All right. Let's say here's the cliff and there's the water out here. I walked up and I looked at it and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. My buddies are with me. They're like, all right, you can do it. All right, they talk like that when you're in college. You're a guy in college. That's how they talk. You can do it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. All right, here we go. And 1, 2. All right, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I want someone to get it on video. Has anybody got it on video? Anybody bring their iPhone? And they're like no. Like, they haven't invented iPhones yet. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, if I'm going to do this, I want it to be like on Instagram or Facebook or something. They're like, no, there's no Facebook. There's no Instagram. I'm like, okay. So I'm getting ready to jump off the cliff, and I'm like, 1, 2. You know what? I better not do this. I don't know. I'm really scared. And all my friends, what'd they say? And so finally, I got enough bravery and courage. All right. 1, 2, 3. And I jumped. And then I screamed all the way down. Make a big splash sound for me. Yeah. Make a big splash, and after all that screaming and falling down off the cliff, you go way down into the water, and then you're down there, and then you're scared. Because you can't see, and you don't know which way is up and which way is down, and you're swimming, and then finally you make it to the top, and you're like, I did it! I cliff dived! All right. Now that was something that was pretty scary that I did, but listen, you need to wait till you're very, very much older to do that, and you must do that with your parents' permission, of course. Supervision, best case scenario. All right, what's something else that takes courage?
Listen, when you're at school, you never see kids in your class that start laughing at another kid, maybe teasing them. You never see that? Yeah. You know what takes, for you guys, what takes courage? Not join in and laugh when everybody else is laughing. And actually to say, you know, that's not nice, maybe we should help this person and not. That takes courage when you're surrounded by all your classmates that are laughing. Because you don't really want to be different, you don't want to stand out, do you? No? But is it the right thing to do? No. Is it the right thing to do to not laugh at the kid who's different when everybody else is laughing? No. We should stand out and be courageous that way.
That does take courage. No, because there's kids at school. You know why kids at school pick and make fun of other people?
Why? They're bullies.
Because maybe they've been picked on. What else?
Why do you keep following
They try to make themselves feel better by picking on somebody else. Yeah, a lot of times people pick on people because they don't really like themselves that much. They don't really feel that good about themselves. And so it's kind of a trick to where they think they can pick on other people and it makes them feel better. But you know what? It really doesn't make you feel better. It really makes you feel worse. Alright? Because it's not the right thing to do. And it really makes you feel guilty and wrong. And you know what? Most of the time, you're going to get in trouble. Alright? Definitely don't want to do that. But definitely it takes courage, it takes bravery to be the one that says, you know what? It would be easy for me to join in with other people to pick on somebody because they're all having fun and they seem to be in this little group together of friends. But you know what? I'm not going to join in that group. I'd rather be by myself and be quiet and not pick on them than join in with them. And you know what? Even a further step of courage and bravery is that you be friends with the person who's getting picked on. Maybe nobody else is sitting with them at lunchtime, and it might take courage and bravery to be the one that goes and sits with them during lunchtime or plays with them during recess. Because you know what? If they're being picked on by other people, you know, they probably are feeling hurt and pain, and they probably really need a friend. So what's another example of courage? To tell the truth? Yeah. Now, why would we need courage to tell the truth?
Because if you disobey your mom or dad, and you don't want to get in trouble, if you lie, you probably just going to get in more trouble. And the reason that's hard is because you're like, but maybe if I lie, I won't get in trouble. But then I would get in more trouble when all that comes out. But then I'd be in more trouble. Like, because you should stop.
Yeah, it's a big crazy cycle, and it's very confusing, isn't it? I mean, if you tell a lie trying to cover up something that you did, that's not being very courageous. Trying to tell a lie, that's being a coward. Not living up to your mistakes or something you did wrong. You know, a person who's a good boy or a good girl, someone who can be courageous, is that you own up to your mistakes. If you do something wrong, you know, you tell your mom and dad, you know what, I did wrong. And you know what, sometimes you have to face the consequences. But it's a lot better than telling a lie and then being caught and tangled in an evil web of lies. All right, because that's definitely no way to live. And you know what? God always knows the truth. And you know what? Most of the time, your parents, most of the time, they know the truth already. All right? They just want to see if you're going to be honest and be courageous and own up to your mistakes. All right, what's something else that takes courage and bravery? Skydiving. Anyone ever gone skydiving? Yeah? Wow. I don't know. That's pretty amazing to go skydiving. Do you guys think that I should go skydiving? Yeah? Well, we have to talk my wife and my children into letting me go skydiving because, actually there might be certain days that they were like, yeah, go skydiving. You know, but that's kind of a scary thing. I think that would take a lot of courage and bravery. What's something else? What's something else that takes courage? Go ahead, Michael, Gabriel. Wait, listen, we can't see him. What? We can't hear him. Takes courage to go to war? Yeah, absolutely. Your dad has served in the military. What branch of service did your dad serve in? National Guard? Yeah. It takes courage to go to war and to fight for your country. That's absolutely correct. You know what? Both of my grandfathers, both of them fought in one of the wars. Guess which war they fought in? What do you think? Civil War? No? Actually, guess who was right? Lily was correct. World War II. Both of them fought in World War II. And that took bravery and courage to fight in war. Absolutely. They did not die in the war. No, they died later on. Who else has a thought on what takes bravery, what takes courage? Go ahead. Yeah.
It takes courage to go to school, even if you don't want to.
It takes courage to go to school, even if you don't want to. How many of you agree that, yeah, it takes courage to go to school? Especially when you're younger, like kindergarten, first grade, it's kind of a new experience for you. Or if you're a new kid. How many of you guys, put your hands down, how many of you guys went to a new school this year? Raise your hand. Yeah. All right, put your hands down. Now, you know what? It took courage to go into a new school and to go into your new class because you're meeting new people. You know what? When I was a kid, I went to a couple different youth schools. I lived in Colorado, and I went to a school called Mountain States Baptist Academy. They had kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. It's a really big school. I went there for a few years, and then we moved to Ohio, and I went to a different school, 5th and 6th grade, called the Cathedral of Tomorrow. That was the school there. And you know what? Inside that school, they had the big chapel sanctuary area. It was a Christian school, and they had this cross that was on the ceiling, and it had like it had thousands of light bulbs in it, and it would light up different colored lights. Pretty cool. When I was there in 5th grade and 6th grade, and then I went to a school called junior high in 7th and 8th grade, and then I went to a school called Mentor Heritage Christian Academy in high school. And then I moved down here and went to Lee College, all right? And it's Lee University now. All right, so I went to a few different schools. And yeah, it takes courage to go to different schools. What else is something that takes bravery, courage? Let me know when you think of that thought. Go ahead, Ross. Jumping off a 50-feet diving board into a deep pool. That takes courage. I took swimming lessons at Highland High School in Colorado, and they had a big, tall diving board. And let me tell you what, I jumped off it a few times, and it took courage. I never did dives like head first. I just jumped off the feet first. It was really high up there, and it was kind of scary. All right, go ahead. What else takes? Rappelling off an 85-foot cliff. Now, does anybody know what rappelling is? You want to explain to them what rappelling is? Yeah, it's attached to a rope, and basically you're hanging off the side of the cliff attached to a rope. And it takes courage because you're trusting people that are up there, that they got it fastened down or anchored down, or they're holding it. You're trusting them, and you're rappelling off of a cliff down to the bottom of the cliff. So yeah, that definitely takes a lot of courage. Yeah, you gotta trust them. Go ahead, Jonah. What? Flying a quadcopter. Now come up here and explain what flying a quadcopter is like. Is this something you've done before?
Yeah. So if you mess it up and you get it off, it'll come out your face.
Really?
Yeah, because it will go autopilot to your mouth, and that will fly to your face.
Well, now explain what a quadcopter is.
It's like a helicopter, it has a plane. So first, it has a four right there, four right there, four right there, a little centerpiece, then blades spinning up and water fast with your foot.
Wow. That definitely would take courage. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of different things in life that takes courage. And you know what? We know that we can be brave even when things seem impossible.